Hello, this is Talking Europe on France 24. I'm Catherine Nicholson. Now, President Macron called it the most important moment for Europe since the creation of the Eurozone. The EU's 27 heads of state and government have now greenlit a €750 billion coronavirus recovery plan, a plan intended to lift European countries out of the crises brought on by the pandemic and all the lockdowns that brought economies to a halt. And one of the biggest beneficiaries of the funds will be Spain, where more than 28,000 people have so far died from Covid-19, and where millions of people are being urged to stay home once again as the infection rates rise in certain parts of the country. Well, speaking to us today from Madrid is Arantxa González-Laya, who is Spain's foreign minister in the socialist-led coalition government since January of this year. Ms. González-Laya, thank you very much for being our guest.
A pleasure.
I'd like to start off, of course, with the evolution of the actual virus pandemic. Cases in Spain have more or less tripled in just the space of a fortnight. How worried are you?
Well, we are not worried. What we are doing is, like in every other country where we are seeing outbreaks, is identifying them as soon as possible, tracking the contacts of those infected, isolated them, and then making sure that they don't pass this on to other citizens. While we don't have a vaccine or a treatment, this is part of the new normal. Isolating very early, as soon as possible, cases that may appear so that the rest of the country can go on with their lives. This is why we're making a very big effort at telling our citizens to behave responsibly and to ensure that they respect the recommendations we are giving them to protect them and to protect their loved ones and the rest of the citizens.
A big question really in Spain, as in many countries, could there be a new lockdown, if not nationally, then perhaps regionally, in specific regions like Catalonia, where the infection rates have been 4 times higher than in the second highest infected region?
Well, we are not facing a second wave. What we are facing is outbreaks here and there. In some parts, it's a house. In some places, is a block. In other places, is a village. In other places, is a small region. But our strategy is always the same. Identify the problem as soon as possible, isolate that problem, protect those people affected, isolate them from the rest of the citizenship, and make sure that through that the country can continue to work and the economy can continue to work. This is what Spain is doing, but this is what the rest of the European members that are facing exactly the same difficulties are doing in order to live with COVID for as long as we have to, because we haven't found a vaccine.
And of course, travel comes into all of this. The border between Spain and France reopened on June the 21st. Now, barely a month after that, the French Prime Minister Jean Castex was asked and didn't rule out shutting that border again. Are you prepared for that to potentially happen?
Well, every European Union member state, and Spain is no exception, is discussing borders, EU borders and external borders on a daily basis with all our counterparts. I'm doing this with my French counterpart, with my Portuguese counterpart, with the Andorran counterpart, with the British counterpart, with every member state, because what we want to make sure is through this dialogue that we keep the levels of confidence that have allowed the European Union to open its internal borders and for the Schengen agreement to be back in place. That's the basis on which we are functioning, creating trust through dialogue as a means, again, to maintain the freedom of movement within the European Union, something that our citizens cherish a lot.
Well, moving on to the recovery plan that I spoke of at the start of the programme, this unprecedented economic stimulus package, and now alongside Italy, Spain is going to be one of the biggest recipients of these funds. What are you intending to spend the money on?
Well, we would do what we have said all along we will. One is to support the decarbonization of our economy. Number two is to ensure our economy is much more digitally powered. Number three is to make sure that we work for the inclusion of every citizen, man or woman, and that we leave nobody behind. And this requires things like a reform of our education system, vocational training, these structural reforms that will make our economy a more modern one and will ensure that the economy works for all Spaniards, something that has been missing for a while. We've been very clear all along, this is what we will do, and obviously we have no difficulty in doing it. A number of these reforms are already in place. The last one, the most recent, a big plan to digitalize our economy, which shows that we are a responsible country that says what it does and does what it says.
Well, there did seem to be quite a lot of mistrust from certain northern European countries about the trustworthiness of countries such as yours, as well as Italy and other southern European states. We've seen this before in Europe. Now, they've attached strings to this money being handed out. Governments that want to take grants will have to submit spending plans. They could be potentially blocked by a qualified majority of other states. Given all that mistrust that we've seen, these conditions that have been attached, are you confident that Spain will be able to spend the money the way you want?
Well, I wouldn't qualify this as mistrust. What we have seen is negotiating tactic, like in any tough negotiation, and this was a very tough negotiation given the historic nature of the agreement that has been reached. It took a bit of punching here and there, but we are perfectly comfortable with the mechanisms that have been found to instill essentially good governance in the way in which the financing, the common investment that we've agreed to do will be used. We have agreed that the investment that the EU is making, 750 billion euros mobilized in an unprecedented manner, will have to be reflected in national recovery plans. We are preparing ours, and we've got no problem to share this with other members and have their blessing for that. And in the same vein, we have no difficulty discussing regularly and presenting regularly to the rest of the member states what we are doing, how much we are advancing in the reforms that we intend to carry out. And we don't have a problem in doing this because what we want is to modernize the Spanish economy, and doing this in accordance with the spirit that is the European Union's plan for the European Union of the future.
We're talking about some other tough negotiations. Brexit, future relation talks between the UK and the European Union do not seem to be going well. We've had strong signals in the last week that the UK could end up without a formal trade deal on January 1st next year. This would come at great cost to the UK, but also to the EU. Your country, Spain, has the second biggest trade deficit with the UK of all the EU 27. Are you afraid, do you fear that the UK would actually walk away on WTO terms without a formal deal? Or do you think that they're bluffing to create room for a deal?
Well, what we think, and on this one we are not alone, is that 27 EU member states that think exactly the same thing, is that we want to have an ambitious post-Brexit relationship with the United Kingdom. And we think that it is worth investing the time now to craft the terms of this close relationship in the form of an agreement. And we think it's better to have an agreement than to have the UK exit the European Union without an agreement. We think that this is what would create a win-win result, win for the UK, win for the European Union. The reverse, meaning having the UK leave without an agreement, we think would be lose for the UK, lose for the European Union, and therefore we are not pursuing this. Obviously, the ball now is in the UK camp. They have to come clear with what they want, with how they see the future relationship. And what I can say is that the clock is ticking, that we are approaching the moment of truth, and that we hope the UK would come clear sooner rather than later, in order to ensure the relationship in the future is good for the UK, but also good for the EU.
The clock certainly is ticking. The UK does not seem to be budging on some of its key demands. Do you want to see perhaps a change of tack from Michel Barnier, the EU negotiator, showing a little bit more flexibility with London over certain sticking points?
I have full trust in the EU negotiator that is Michel Barnier. I have full trust in the strategy that is the European Union's strategy, and I have full trust in his tactic. Which is also the European Union's tactic. What we need to see now clearly is clarity on the UK side concerning their future relationship with the European Union. We, again, want a close relationship. It cannot be the same we had before because they will no longer be a member of the European Union. They've decided they don't want this for themselves. But we think that there is a way to craft a solid relationship between two friends and allies that are the UK and the European Union. But the ball today in the UK's camp.
Just got a little bit of time left to speak about Gibraltar. You were in the Spanish region that borders Gibraltar this week. It's one of the issues that's come out of Brexit, this British territory on the southern tip of Spain, where many Gibraltarians have been concerned that Spain could try to make moves on its sovereignty post-Brexit. In late 2018, your Prime Minister talked about joint sovereignty. Is that still an aim?
Well, it's pretty clear that Spain hasn't renounced to its historic reivindications concerning Gibraltar. And obviously, this will have to be part of the discussions that we are having with the United Kingdom, Spain, UK. This, again, it's irrenounceable for Spain, but we also need to make sure that come the 31st of December, we have a plan that ensures a shared prosperity.
All right, Arantxa González-Laya, that's all we have time for. Thank you so much for speaking to us on France 24.
Thank you.
Thanks to you for watching as well. Hope to see you soon here on Talking Europe.
Just a stone's throw from the Moroccan coast, La Linea is a gateway for drugs delivered by a never-ending procession of speedboats. In a region where 40% of the population is unemployed, the lure of easy money stares you in the face. Nobody here makes a secret about it.
Es que hace falta trabajo, porque esos muchachos, la mayoría van con miedo, pero por la necesidad que hay en su casa.
But people are fed up with luxury villas being built with dirty drug money. No surprise then that the mayor has been re-elected with an outright majority. He has vowed to continue the war on drugs, even if there's no end in sight.
Reporters presented by Mark Owen on France 24 and France24.com.